Hello and welcome to Small Cap Nation. I'm Jane King at the NASDAQ market site in Times Square, and with me today, John McCammett, biotech investor. You write a newsletter. We'll talk a little bit more about that exactly. And also Richard Schumacher, the CEO of Pressure BioSciences. So
good morning.
Let's start with Richard. Tell me about, you've just got a line of credit as well as an investment in the millions of dollars. What do you plan to do with that?
Yeah, exciting time for us, Jane. We've talked before, and we know that the company is growing, and as we grow, we need to hire some people. We've had the same 9 people, 9 staff for quite some time now, about 4 years. So we secured a $2 million line of credit on some very, very favorable terms for the shareholders of this company, and that's going to be available to us over the coming months as we grow. And we also announced yesterday a $610,000 initial investment in a $2.5 million pipe. So between the two, we've got cash now that is going to help this company grow as our sales continue to mount.
Okay, John.
Yeah, I'm John McCammett. I publish the Medical Technology Stock Letter, and we track investments in the biotech space for 25, 30 plus years. Rick, I think I do want to circle back to the financial questions. Maybe we'll do that in a few minutes, but I think it'd be important if you could give us a layman's explanation of the technology and how you guys are applying that to generate some of these revenues.
We have a technology called pressure cycling technology. In its simplest definition, we use cycles of pressure to control molecular action. What that means is every virus, every bacteria, every cell can be modified using pressure. We have an instrument and consumables, and with this instrument and consumables, we can break open cells that release all of the good stuff that we're looking for, the proteins, the lipids, the DNA. So this is a first in kind. We're the only company that I know of that uses this. We have 24 patents. Very excited about it. And this is currently being used by a number of researchers around the world who are trying to break open cells to study cancer, heart disease, diseases of animals and plants, and other things.
And the technology originated out of?
Well, I bought the technology a number of years ago when I had a company called Boston Biomedica, and we decided to break up Boston Biomedica and specialize in this because we think that the potential is just so exciting.
All right, so it's starting to generate revenues, and what are we looking at towards profitability and any other, I guess, actually back step one, you had a partnership you had last year, I believe, that you are starting to work with closer in the industry?
Well, we signed a co-marketing agreement with Cyax. Cyax is a Danaher company. Danaher is about a $70 billion life science company. Cyax is also the largest company in the world that sells an instrument called a mass spectrometer. A mass spectrometer is an instrument, the instrument of choice that people use to study proteins. Our instrument sits in front of the mass spectrometer. It sits in front of many instruments, but our so-called low-hanging fruit is a mass spectrometer. So customers that are using a mass spectrometer, which we think there are about 16,000 labs around the world, they need something in front of that machine to break open the tissue, break open the cell, to release the proteins that are going to be studied. That's what we do, and we think we do it better, faster, and with higher quality than what's on the market.
So the previous technologies mashed these things up into some sort of soup, and then they had to kind of extract things out while you're leaving these cellular components intact, correct?
Well, the previous technologies, John, which are the current technologies that we're trying to replace, actually do. They use mechanical means for the most part to mash up the tissues, the cells. We control that process better than what's out there. Everything has a pressure point, every cell. If you know the pressure point, you can determine how many cycles of pressure and how long under pressure and how much pressure to put on the cell. You can precisely break that cell so you don't overbreak it and you don't underbreak it.
Now tell me, so I always try to look at this from the patient's point of view. So you mentioned cancer, heart issues as well. So how does this work? Someone has these health issues and they go to their doctor, and where does it go from there?
Well, hopefully down the road, Jane, they'll go to the doctor and there'll be some therapy that was discovered, developed by using our system in the research lab.
Okay.
Our instrument is sold to researchers all around the world. These are researchers that are spending day and nights, 24/7, looking for that next strategy, that next drug, that next diagnostic tool. And to do that, they need to break open the cells of cancer patients, cells of normal patients, and we ask them to take a look at our technology because a cell is not just a cell. A cell is made up of thousands, perhaps as many as 10,000 proteins. So how you break it up, how many proteins you get out, the quality of the proteins is going to determine the quality of your research. And therefore, hopefully, as you mentioned, down the road in the clinic, someone will have access to a drug or a strategic compound that came about because someone used our system and was able to find and maybe make a discovery that possibly could not have been made without it.
Got it.
One of the keys for growth, in particular the cancer field, is specific biomarkers, and we're just getting to that. So these extractions and getting these cells intact will allow us a little better look at these things, and particularly with the newest cancer drugs, the Optivos and Keytruda, these are miracle drugs.
Wow, so this could really advance that technology.
They work in about 30% of the patients.
Wow.
So we're spending $100,000 per patient, and 70% of them aren't getting a real benefit, and then we want to get those drugs to the people that can.
Right.
So this is where some of these technologies that might seem like we're not doing drugs, but these biomarkers, and they're called companion diagnostics, they can ease the process with the FDA and the regulatory, and certainly, really the goal is to get drugs to people that need them, not just to any patient.
So along those lines, John and Jane, there's an initiative that started in January called the Cancer Moonshot. And it came out of President Obama's speech in State of the Union. And this is the government of the U.S. putting about $1 billion to work this year, last year and this year. They're trying to jumpstart the work that's being done in cancer research. They're trying to do in 5 years what is normally going to be done in 10 years. And one of the things that's happening is that cancer centers from all over the world are beginning to have funding and beginning to look at cancer to try to find those biomarkers that John mentioned that will tell us why do only 30% accept a certain cancer therapy? Why isn't it 50? Why isn't it 80? Personalized medicine. What is it in this individual system that will not allow them to accept a certain cancer therapy? If you have the tools to look at the cells, at the cancer cells, the normal cells that are being directed at by these therapies, perhaps you can determine up front who will accept the therapy and who will not. We're making tools that will better allow researchers to look and answer those questions, we believe, so that the therapies can get better and so that the therapies can be directed to the individuals that will accept those therapies.
Comments we've heard out of Trump already look very positive for funding for the industry, but even more importantly, Joe Biden is going to personally maybe go run this.
Interesting.
Because he's got a lot of experience, and this started with his son who died of brain cancer. So this is a really important way. But also Donald Trump has already told us he is going to work hard with the FDA and look to reward innovation. So that's that line between an EpiPen, which is gross over abuse of our system, and creating these new cancer drugs like Keytruda and biomarkers that get these drugs to the patient. So Trump is really just innovation, and this is what.
So that's got to be reassuring that a new administration will continue with this progress.
It is reassuring. We're excited about what's going on. As I think you saw this morning, we filed our 10Q and we announced our third consecutive $500,000 in revenue quarter. But I think more importantly is that we actually broke $500,000 in product sales alone this time, whereas before it was product sales and grants combined. So this was our record quarter for product sales. It was our third consecutive $500,000. And this is for a company that has a half a person in sales. We have 9 people. And
you can only do so much, right? If you're one person, can only do so much.
But Jane, you asked earlier and talked earlier about the financing. What's exciting about the financing is that having 9 people, 9 slots for the last 4 years or so, we now have access to cash, and we've already started advertising. We're advertising, and I've already interviewed on the phone several people for positions in sales and marketing. In operations, we can't grow the company if we don't make more instruments. We need to buy raw materials to build the instruments. So all of these things are now being done because we now have access to the line of credit for $2 million and the money that we raised through a PIPE.
Any forward-looking projections for our audience out there, Rick? What can they expect over the next 3-6 months?
Well, I think one of the things I've said often, John, is that this company is looking very seriously at upgrading to the NASDAQ, and that's a process that I think our shareholders and investors should keep their ears tuned to. And also, we believe that the sales that we have shown, which are, I think, dramatic for a small company with a half of a salesperson and all engineers and scientists building the company. I think what's exciting is as we build out our infrastructure, I think we're going to build out the possibility really increasing and ramping our sales.
Okay, well, and good luck with this expansion, and hopefully it goes as well as you hope that it will. So, and thank you so much, Richard Schumacher, for joining us today, the CEO of Pressure BioSciences, and also John McCammett for joining us today.
My pleasure,
and,
Jane.
Thank you as well for joining us on Small Cap Nation. So for more information about interesting companies doing interesting things, you can go to smallcapnation.com.